Hello everyone, my name is Elite Trainer Kenway and I have a question for you. Would you want to live in the Pokemon world? I mean, would you really want to live in the Pokemon world? If you were suddenly transported to the Pokemon world tomorrow, what would you do for a living? There are millions and millions of Pokemon trainers out there, so not everyone is going to make a living as a gym leader, a Pokemon trainer, or even an Elite Four member. So let me ask again, what would you do for a living in a world full of Pokemon? Luckily, I got some options for you to consider. Today we're going to discuss 10 strange jobs that totally exist in the Pokemon world. So, let's talk about it. Let's start things off with the first thing that popped into most of your minds the moment I said Pokemon jobs. We're all familiar with fur-fro groomers in the Kalos region, but dog Pokemon in every region need a trim. In any given workday, you could find yourself bathing a fur-fro from Kalos, an Arcanine from Kanto, a Boltund from Galar, and maybe even a Suicune if a talented trainer came into your shop. This next entry is perfect for today's sponsor, Bright Sellers. Did you know that Bright Sellers can? Oh, I'm just kidding. Nobody wants to sponsor this channel. But our next entry is actually about wine. In countries that make high quality wine, sheep can be used to help maintain pristine vineyard rows and reduce or even replace cultivation and herbicide application. So if you wake up tomorrow and find yourself in the Galar region, and if you're 21 years of age or older, grab yourself a couple of doubles and you can begin making the finest wine the Pokemon world has ever seen. So those were our 2 tame entries on this list. Now let's get into some truly weird jobs. Let me ask you something. What kind of food would you feed your Pokemon if you were a trainer? Pellets? Raw Pokemon meat? Freshly cooked stew? Sandwiches? Trainers who truly love their Pokemon want the absolute best for them. No Pokemon should have to be made to eat nasty food. That's where you could come in. Now, believe it or not, this is a real job that exists in our world today. There are people who taste test dog food to make sure it's up to the highest quality standards. So you could very well go into work every day taste testing Growlithe food. You guys have seen the anime, I'm sure, or at the very least, you've seen that one Ponyta racing episode in the first season. The Safari Zone in the Kanto region hosts a Pokemon racing event every year, and it's highly likely that other cities and other regions also host Pokemon races. But who actually keeps these Pokemon in racing shape? Well, it could very well be you. Animal massage therapists have a long history of relaxing horses after a long day of running. After some training, you could very well find yourself making an easy living massaging Zebstrikos and Mudsdales every day. This next entry isn't necessarily a Pokemon job, it's more like a job with an unexpected partner. According to the National Ferret School, ferrets are used by electricians to thread cables under floorboards, through cavities, and above false ceilings. If you already know your way around a circuit breaker, you could travel to the Johto region and catch a few ferrets to aid you in laying cables. But make sure you have at least one badge or they may not obey you. For our next entry, we move from one odd working partner to another. We all know about the Great Kalos War that took place centuries ago, but why are young trainers now allowed to freely roam the Kalos region? We know that the Pokemon world has weapons similar to that of our own, so it wouldn't be a stretch of the imagination to assume there may be landmines buried in the ground all around Kalos. Well, thankfully our world has a solution to that problem, but you're not really going to like it. African giant pouched rats are now being trained to sniff out TNT explosives in the ground in Cambodia. Similarly, Rattatas and Raticates can also be used to sniff out landmines in Kalos. Although, if you choose to take this career path, I wouldn't get too close to your partner. And since we're on the subject of the Poke military, let's talk about Finizen and Palafin. Boy, that's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Through my research for this video, I discovered that the US military uses bottlenose dolphins to detect and defend against enemy swimmers seeking to plant explosives on Navy ships. If you have some military background and find yourself plopped down in Unova, you could very well find yourself training some Palafins for military operations. Right then, let's stick with weapons for one more entry, shall we? Did you know that honeybees can be trained to smell out explosives? That's right, bees right now are being used to detect landmines as well as explosives in airports. So the question is, have you got a bunch of male combies in your collection that you caught while trying to get that one female to evolve into a Vespiquen? Well, get yourself over to Unova and you can earn a satisfying living keeping the Mostrelton City Airport safe for everyone. As we move on to our 2 final entries, I want to remind you that all of these are real jobs that animals in our world do every day. And these jobs undoubtedly exist in the Pokemon world as well. Are you a fan of cat Pokemon? How about big cat Pokemon? It's one thing to command your Pyroar to bite another Pokemon in battle. It's another thing entirely if you were on the other end of that Pyroar's massive teeth. That's exactly what you'd be doing if you chose to be a big cat Pokemon dentist. As a big cat dentist, you could find yourself performing surgery on the mouths of Persian, Pyroar, Incineroar, Raikou, or even Solgaleo. If you're brave enough for this job, you can set up your veterinarian clinic in any region and make a great living. As we move on to our final entry in this list, let me ask you a question. Have you ever used the item antidote to cure your Pokemon of poison? How do you think the first ever antidote bottle was made? It could have been made from ground up petra berries, or it could have been made out of the venom of our Boxer Viper. Yes, snake venom milker is a real job and one that very likely exists in the Pokemon world as well as our own. Although it may not be limited to just snake Pokemon, I imagine you could very well find yourself milking a toxicity for its venom. It's probably a good idea that we don't type that into Google image search, lest we fall victim to one of the internet's most famous rules. Anyway, those are just 10 of the weirdest jobs that totally exist in the Pokemon world. Let me know in the comment section which job best suits you. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all again next week. Until then, I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll see you soon. Peace.